Good morning, everyone. It's really great to be here with you today. Before I say anything, I just want to extend a huge thanks to our mayors and to our ecosystem builders for doing what you do every day to support our nation's makers, doers, and dreamers. I'm going to give you a round of applause, all right? So for the last 10 years, the Kauffman Foundation has held an event that we call the State of Entrepreneurship, and we do it every February. Historically, it's been in Washington, D.C. But this year, we switched things up, and we held it in the middle of the country, right here in Kansas City, because we wanted to send a signal. And that signal is that you can't wait for change to come from the top, that change is going to happen if we all work together to get different results. I think we're in kind of a pivotal moment in our country's history, and I know that sounds a little dramatic, but I think there's some truth to it. We've gathered here because we believe that our national and our global well-being requires a healthier economy for all of our people, and new companies are a really important part of that equation. New companies, as many of you know, are where the future jobs come from, and they're from where much of our prosperity comes from. But we can't be the kind of society that we need to be if that prosperity only happens in certain places and only for certain kinds of people. For a long time, as many of you know, much of the startup activity has been clustered in a few hubs along the coast, which draw most of the investment capital. And meanwhile, people across the rest of the country have been trying to boost their economies through a number of different strategies, some of them a bit misguided. Some try to hold on to older, mature industries, while others try to lure the next big company to come to town. You just have to think about Amazon HQ2 to get a sense of that. But happily, others are trying to boost their economies by building more vibrant environments for their entrepreneurs, and that's where all of you come into play. So communities are asking, how can we be the next Silicon Valley, or how can we be the next Silicon somewhere? At the foundation, we actually think that's the wrong question. We should be asking, how can we be the best Detroit? How can we be the best Kansas City? How can we be the best American hometown that each of us can be? And I'd say we can strive to be better than Silicon Valley. Nothing against Silicon Valley, but better in a couple different ways. One, by having more well-rounded entrepreneurial ecosystems that draw on the ideas and the talents of all of our people. And by starting well-grounded companies that succeed because they meet practical, real-life needs. Our focus today at the Kauffman Foundation is trying to bring many more people into entrepreneurship regardless of their circumstances and to have them succeed. We believe that every startup is valuable, even small shop local businesses, because by definition, if something's succeeding, it's meeting a need or it's doing something better. And you never know where that next big growth company will come from. We only have to look at Mr. Kauffman, our founder's business. It took nearly 20 years from when he started it to when it went to an IPO. I'm going to pop up real quickly at the 60,000-foot level and talk about the big picture situation nationally in entrepreneurship. At the foundation, we calculate an index on early stage entrepreneurship, and we've been doing this for a long time. But recently we took a pause and we revamped the entire index so it's more practical and useful for the field. So I'm going to give you the headline. In 2017, which is the last full year for which we have public data, the index was the highest it's been in 20 years. So finally, an uptick, which is great news. The national startup rate per capita in the United States is 0.33%. And what that means is roughly 3 out of every 1,000 people, adults, in the United States are starting a business each month. But despite this increase in entrepreneurship at the national level, when you start breaking it down by demographics or regions or states or even localities, the picture looks really different. So when people ask me why we need more and better entrepreneurship, especially when the economy seems to be doing well and the stock markets are strong and most people are employed, I use this data to help tell the story. And that story is that our national prosperity has really big holes in it, with whole regions and towns and demographic groups that are falling behind. The playing field is definitely not level when it comes to our nation's entrepreneurs. So let's imagine a different story and think of how much better our communities across the nation could be with stronger, more vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystems. Imagine having everything that companies need: deeper, richer pools of potential team members and advisors, better access to capital, policies that help entrepreneurs get over those stumbling blocks instead of help creating them, and better networks, powerful networks that connect people to ideas and opportunities that can take them to the next level. In strong entrepreneurial ecosystems, all these things are clicking together to a high degree. And when the underlying ecosystem is right, it lifts all entrepreneurs, and it can lift communities. But importantly, we need to consider all aspects of the community, because the reality is the economic opportunity just a few blocks east of here is very different than where we sit here today. And I'm sure I could probably stand in any city in the country and say the same thing. We also know that Main Street is a shadow of what it used to be in too many small towns across America, and that once bustling county seat is now quiet in much of rural America. So why is that? A big reason is that our economic development strategies and financial tools simply aren't geared for business creation in our current economy. We need a new model of economic development to support our entrepreneurs. And that involves all of us. Each of us has a role to play in helping create a more prosperous economy for all. That work starts by growing our own, entrepreneur by entrepreneur, and community by community. Going back to our State of Entrepreneurship message, it's not about waiting for Washington, D.C. to give us the solutions. It's about creating those solutions ourselves. Those of you in this room know this all too well, and your commitment to this often thankless work is really inspiring. I know what you do might seem lonely, but just look around, you're in great company. There are 450 ecosystem builders here today, and there are more than 80 mayors and city representatives. So you're all doing this work together, even though it might seem more isolated when you go back home. All of you are focused on helping communities to grow their own. Your work is truly pioneering, and it really is making a difference. And on behalf of the Kauffman Foundation, I just want to thank you for your partnership. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here in Kansas City. Thanks.